The land of Babylon was ruled by the king of Persia. But God's people were still living in Babylon. One of them was a young woman named Esther. The king of Persia wanted a beautiful young woman to be his queen. And he chose Esther. About this time, Esther's cousin Mordecai got in trouble.
Hey, Mordecai. Here comes General Haman. You better bow down to the leader of the king's army.
No, I will only bow down to the God of my fathers.
This made Haman so angry that he made a plan to kill all God's people living in Persia. Neither Haman nor the king knew that Queen Esther was related to Mordecai, or even that she was one of God's people. So the king agreed to Haman's evil plan. When Mordecai found out about the plan, he went secretly to visit the queen.
You must go to the king and beg him to have mercy on our people.
But I have not been called to the king. Anyone who enters his throne room without permission will be killed. Unless he holds out his gold scepter.
Yes, you may be killed. But who knows? You may have been chosen queen for just such a time as this.
The young woman had a big decision to make. One that could get her killed, or it could save God's people.
All right. Tell all God's people to stop eating and start praying for me. I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. If I die, I die.
So Esther put on her royal robes and went to see the king. When the king's servants saw her, they were afraid she would be put to death. But when the king saw Esther, he was very pleased. Slowly, he held out his gold scepter.
What is it, my queen? What do you want to ask me?
My king, I ask that you have mercy on me and my people, the Jews. Haman wants us all to be killed.
And that day, the king decided to save Esther and all God's people from Haman's evil plan.
Wasn't that such a wonderful story? Isn't it amazing the way God used Esther? Let's get ready for talk time. See how many questions you can answer. Are you ready? Let's go.
What was the name of Esther's cousin? If you guessed Mordecai, you're right. Who wanted to kill all God's people living in Persia? If you guessed the mean General Haman, you're right. Why do you think God allowed Esther to become queen? That's right, to save God's people.
Great job, boys and girls. Remember, just like God had a plan for Esther, God has a plan for us too. In Jeremiah 29:11, God says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future." When we are courageous to obey what God asks us to do, He will do big things in us. As we bow our heads and close our eyes, let's quiet our hearts and listen for God's voice. Dear God, thank you for each and every child that has come here to hear your word this morning. Lord, I pray that they would know the plans that you have for them. I pray that they would choose to obey you and that they know how much you love them. I pray all of these things in the name of your precious Son. Amen.
Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. was nothing he could do. Mordecai said to Esther, tell the king something's amiss. He said, what if you were made queen for such a time as this? Esther knew she'd get in trouble for going to the king, so she asked for the Jews to pray for her, and waited 3 long days. Esther put on her robes and went before the king. The king was so happy, he said he'd give her anything. Esther held 2 banquets and told him everything. The king was angry and asked, who would do such a thing? Who would do such a thing? Esther said that Haman was the man, the one who came up with the plan. Haman was terrified, he went pale with fright. The king ordered Haman killed on that night. That very night. But the plot was still in place and the Jews were in harm's way. The king issued a decree, defend yourselves however you may. The Jewish people